Freeland told you that she would have one by the end of the year, after the Prime Minister's office had told you that one was coming early next week. I actually made an offer to the Prime Minister and Ms. Freeland that I would give up some of Conservative opposition motion time on Monday, tomorrow, to let them introduce their fall update, an unprecedented act of nonpartisan generosity. I was shocked to see them turn it down. They claimed that they wanted to introduce such a fall update and that it was just those mean Conservatives that were blocking them from doing it. So I cleared the way. 2 hours. They could have introduced it. But they said no. Bizarre. Normally, governments love to introduce fall updates because they are gigantic opportunities to advertise all the good things the government is doing for the finances of the country and the pocketbooks of the people. Well, that is, if you're not doing any good things, then you probably don't want anybody to know about it. And that is, in fact, the case of this government. The reality is that Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau have lost control of the finances. Justin Trudeau is a weak Prime Minister. He's lost control of the borders, lost control of immigration, lost control of spending, lost control of the debt, lost control of inflation, lost control of housing costs, lost control of crime, lost control of drugs. He's lost control of his own cabinet, with his foreign minister launching her leadership campaign on the front page of the New York Times with a big, beautiful photo shoot that she would have gone into a studio to have done, and a screaming headline describing her as a potential successor. He has totally lost control. And now he doesn't want Canadians to see the disastrous state of our books. Remember, he promised, she promised, the deficit would not exceed $40 billion. And now they won't tell us what the deficit is. There are real consequences for these costly failures. After 9 years of Trudeau, everything costs more, with food prices having risen 37% faster in Canada than they did in the United States during the exact same time period. That gap coincides with the coming into force of the carbon tax on the farmers and truckers who bring us our food, a tax he now wants to quadruple to 61 cents a litre. This is a Prime Minister who's doubled our housing costs. So now 80% of Canadians believe, for the first time in Canadian history, that homeownership is only for the very rich. Last week, OECD said that Vancouver and Toronto are now by far the most expensive housing markets in North America. We have the highest housing costs and the lowest incomes. Look at comparison. Seattle's housing costs are about 30% lower than Vancouver's, even though Seattle workers make far more money than Vancouverites make. Housing costs in Toronto are significantly higher than Chicago, even though Chicago workers make more than Torontonians. The two worst housing costs. How is it possible that we have 10 times as much land per capita as the Americans, that our housing costs more than theirs? That's because of 9 years of Justin Trudeau's out-of-control inflationary money printing and immigration, and his financing of local bureaucracies that block home building. And not only do we have expensive homes, we have more homeless people. 38% more chronic homelessness, 1,400 homeless encampments in Ontario after 9 years of Trudeau and the NDP Liberals, 35 homeless encampments in Halifax after 9 years of Trudeau and the NDP Liberals. 2 million people line up at food banks. A quarter of our kids are going to school hungry, and a quarter of parents are skipping meals so their kids don't have to. Those same parents toss and turn at night because they are the most indebted households in the G7. By far, it's not even close. And then our own debt, a national debt, has doubled. Trudeau and the NDP Liberals have added more debt than all prior prime ministers combined. And Now they won't even tell us how big the debt or the deficit is. Crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder now spill into our once safe streets, with rampant repeat offenders out killing, maiming, raping, and decimating our communities, our once safe and tranquil communities. Hate crimes are up 256%, with church burnings, fire bombings of synagogues, and attacks on other places of worship now out of control. With all this damage, with everything that Justin Trudeau and the NDP Liberals have done to make life more costly and dangerous, it would be unrealistic for me to ask them to improve the situation in their upcoming fall economic update. So, I have a more realistic request. Actually, it's more of a plea. Stop. Just stop. Stop adding inflationary spending that balloons the cost of living. Stop your carbon tax hikes. Stop taxing home purchases. Stop adding dangerous and irresponsible debt that threatens our social programs. Everything you're doing, Justin Trudeau, just stop doing it in this fall update until common sense Conservatives can start fixing everything you broke. There will be a carbon tax election, and in that election there will be a very simple choice. Either we go ahead with quadrupling the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre, driving hundreds of billions of dollars and millions of jobs to America and driving our people to starvation, or common sense Conservatives who will axe the tax. That's why it's a carbon tax election. 61 cent a litre carbon tax with the NDP Liberals, zero carbon tax with the Conservatives. The choice again, an NDP Liberal government who will tax your food, punish your work, double your housing cost, and unleash crime in your community, or common sense Conservatives who will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Our common sense Conservatives will take the GST off new homes to save you up to 50 grand on a purchase and stimulate an extra 50,000 apartment and housing builds every single year. We will cap spending, cut bureaucracy and waste to fix the budget. We will stop the crime by locking up violent repeat offenders, securing our borders, and banning hard drugs. In essence, we will bring home Canada's promise, the very simple promise that hard work earns you a powerful paycheck and pension, that buys affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods in the freest country on earth, Canada. Let's bring it home.